So you're thinking of moving to Jacksonville, Florida, but you're not sure what community is the right one for you? Well, in today's video, we're gonna go over one of Jacksonville's newest and hottest communities, the Seven Pines community, by giving you a neighborhood tour, diving into the history, location, and the builders in here, and much, much more. So without further ado, let's get right on into it. Seven Pines, Florida is, as mentioned, one of the newest and hottest communities here in Jacksonville. And one of the main reasons for that is where it's located and the history of the community. You know, ultimately, here in Seven Pines, you could not be more centrally located to everything that people tend to gravitate towards when it comes to living here in Jacksonville. You know, Seven Pines is located just south of Butler Blvd, putting us, relatively speaking, within 10 to 15 minutes from the beach, within 5 minutes or so from the St. John's Town Center, which has really become the hub of Jacksonville. And again, you know, you're not too far away from downtown Jacksonville, running around 20 minutes. The zoo, about 25 minutes, or the airport, about 30 minutes. So you're very centrally located for all those things, which is why I constantly get people coming to me asking me about, you know, Seven Pines and what builder to go with, and really why people tend to love it so much. And I'll dive into a lot of that in this video as well, but if there's anything you have questions on while we're going through this video, do not hesitate to call me, text me, email me, so we can go over any and all questions you may have as it pertains to Seven Pines or any other communities that you're interested in here in Jacksonville, Florida. But ultimately, another reason why people do love Seven Pines is the history behind it. You know, Seven Pines was actually developed by the Skinner family, one of the families located here in Jacksonville that did own quite a bit of land for quite a long time. And the Skinner family is very well known here in Jacksonville because they did donate a lot of the land they owned to University of North Florida. So a lot of people who come here don't always know that UNF and how it's expanded the way it has is in a lot of ways directly impacted by what they've received from the Skinner family. So that is a very cool aspect about the history, the connection between the Skinner family and UNF. However, this specific parcel was not given to UNF. Now again, UNF is maybe, less than 5 minutes easily from Seven Pines. So if you're watching this video and maybe you have a kid who is planning on going to college and they choose University of North Florida or even actual university, this would be a great fit, especially for UNF, because again, they could stay at home and then they could drive or even bike to campus. So that's a really cool aspect. But ultimately with this parcel, they developed it to be residential with a lot of commercial offerings as well for restaurants, shops, etc. And Seven Pines, the reason why they called it Seven Pines, why they named it Seven Pines, is because the Skinner family had 7 brothers who owned the land. And so when they developed it, it actually was developed from a pine farm into what we now know as the Seven Pines Master Plan community. So 7 pines, 7 brothers, pine farm. And the reason I think it's very interesting is because in Jacksonville, in my opinion, and I'm born and raised here, so I've seen a lot of things over the years, but in my opinion, Jacksonville, Florida is a very family-friendly community. Kind of gives you that small town feel and a large city aspect that you don't always find in other major cities like Miami, Tampa, Orlando, Atlanta. And so ultimately that is why I think a lot of people tend to really gravitate to Jacksonville once they move here and get a feel for the area as a whole. And Seven Pines just kind of piggybacks off of that. In addition, Seven Pines is very close to the beaches, as I already mentioned, downtown, airport, all those things. So it definitely gives you everything you could look for on that end. They also incorporate a lot of landscaping into the area, made a very walkable community to really kind of give you that small community feel as well within the city of Jacksonville. So all positives, in my opinion, for why you'd want to be in a community just like this. Now, it's not all positive. There are some negatives, which we'll get into later in this video, so definitely stay tuned for that. But let's now discuss the builders and just what they have to offer in this community, because it's really cool what the developer did when they chose the builders they chose for this community. When the Skinner family developed Seven Pines, they were very particular on which builders they chose to be able to build in this beautiful community. And again, this community, they really took a more modern focus with it. while also incorporating a lot of nature as well with it as well. And it shows up in the areas that have been developed so far, and it will keep showing up in the areas that are currently being developed and worked on as we speak. But those builders, getting back on topic, the two builders that they chose, one is more of a localish builder to our area, and the other one's more of a national builder. But they both pride themselves on their quality of craftsmanship and providing buyers different options depending on what fits their needs currently and in the future. So the two builders that are in Seven Pines are ICI Homes, which is the more localish builder, and David Weekley Homes, which is more of a national builder. And these builders, they have different options you can choose from. So again, if you're watching this, you want more of a townhouse, more of a seamless living to where you don't really want to deal with any sort of exterior maintenance, yard maintenance. They do have townhouses, both builders do, that are great options on 24-foot wide home sites. But now let's say you want more of a home with a front porch, like a true usable front porch. They do have 40-foot wide home sites, 50-foot wide home sites, and 70-foot wide home sites that give you that wraparound front porch if that's what you're looking for. In addition, on the 50s, the 70s, and the 40s, they do have front-facing garages or courtyard entry garages depending on the lot location. So you have tons of options to choose from depending on what really kind of fits your aesthetic and what you're looking for in the construction of the home. Now here's where these two builders differ. David Weekley, because they are a national builder, sometimes their pricing may be at a little bit of a better price point because of the fact that they do have more control on materials and labor due to the fact that they are such a large national builder. The negative of that is you don't always get the ability to kind of change the layout however you want. A lot of times, builders like David Weekley will give you options to choose from, and those options, as long as you stay within them, are fully doable. But if you want to go outside those options, they may not be the builder for you. So if you want something a little more custom, Dave Weekley may not be the best fit for Seven Pines. But price point wise, you cannot beat their price point in Seven Pines. On the flip side, we have ICI Homes, and ICI Homes definitely prides themselves on being more of a semi-custom to custom builder. And really the only requirement they normally have is you have to stay within the confines of their floor plan. But outside of that, as long as you have the budget for it, they can make pretty much any structural or design change you can think of. So that's a really cool aspect with ICI. And I can vouch because I've worked with both of them with clients in the past. They both do a very good job of communication and maintaining strong relationships during and after the build process. So sometimes, some builders, you build with them and you never hear from them again. ICI and David Weekley do a good job of keeping that line of communication going after the fact, because at the end of the day, whether if it's going to be your last home you buy or just one of many, they want to make sure that you will always love it. And if it's not your last one, maybe come back to them for the next one as well. So overall, if you want to know more about these builders or what options they have currently in the area, reach out to me. You can call me, text me, email me, and we'll definitely go through all of that on the call. And again, later on in this video, there will be some links to some model home tours of their specific models currently in Seven Pines. So definitely, I would suggest to check those out as well. Overall though, let's now dive into more of the commercial side and what's to come here in Seven Pines. All right, before we get into the commercial though, let's also just quickly, before we move on from the builders, discuss pricing as well, because I'm sure you're very curious on both these builders where their pricing kind of falls in at. To start off with the townhouses, we'll just quickly focus on that. The townhouses are currently anywhere from the low 5s up to the 6s, depending on finishes. So just keep that in mind when it comes to pricing for the townhouses, that there's not a huge variation, but at least you kind of know a general thinking on price range. As far as the single family homes, ICI Homes currently is most likely going to put you anywhere from the low 6s up to $1.5 million, depending on what lot location, what floor plan, and what structural and design finishes you choose for the home. Now, granted, most of the homes are going to probably be with ICI Homes anywhere from $850 to probably $1.1, $1.2, but there is some variation there that you'd see compared to, say, like the townhouses that we just discussed. As far as David Weekley, David Weekley is going to put you also not as high, but daily is gonna put you probably in the 700s up to probably $1 million, maybe $1.1 million, depending on what structurals, lot location, floor plan, design center option that you choose. So overall, you have a great range of anywhere from the low fives up to $1.5 million, depending on what kind of home you're looking for, what builder you choose, and the finishes that you put into that home. So again, if you want to know more about any specific floor plans that these builders are offering, definitely I would suggest reach out to me with a call, a text, an email. It's going to be on the screen, super easy. Why are you hesitating? Do it now if you have those questions. But at the same time, ultimately, the goal of this video is to also give you an idea of Seven Pines as a whole, and why people do really like it. Now, part of why people really like Seven Pines is what's expected to come, not necessarily what's here currently, which is a lot of the commercial options that are coming along. In those commercial options, we do have an apartment complex there in Seven Pines currently. That apartment complex is a beautiful complex. If you're looking for something short-term to stay at as you learn more about Jacksonville, could be a great alternative for you. Although I will say you have to always look at the cost there compared to just buying a home. But ultimately, great location, being in Seven Pines, super convenient. But what's really cool is that you do have a lot of commercial offerings coming. They're gonna have a commercial space anchored by Publix. And that's the thing is you have multiple Publixes to choose from here in Seven Pines. There's a Publix off Kernan and Beach. That's gonna be about 5 minutes down the road. There's a Publix right at the corner of Hodges and Butler. Again, probably 5 minutes or so to get to. Shoot, you have a Publix at the town center that's less than 10 minutes away. So from a grocery store standpoint, you have plenty of offerings nearby, but what's really cool about this one is this one would allow you to actually take your golf cart, because this is a golf cart community, up to the Publix if you don't want to drive. So that's a really cool aspect. In addition, you're gonna have other commercial there as well, but just kind of as we were talking about going over some more of the commercial nearby, not only is there a Publix within 5 minutes or so from Seven Pines, but you also have multiple Targets, you have a Walmart, you have a Sprouts, all within 10 minutes or less from this location. So there's plenty of options there to choose from, whether it's grocery stores or just main retail locations that aren't too far away. And that's really why people love Seven Pines. I mean, you have all of that nearby. The beaches are, again, 15 minutes or less. Downtown's 20 minutes or less. The zoo's 25 minutes or less. Airport's 30 minutes or less. I mean, even St. Augustine, if you're gonna go to downtown St. Augustine for the day, I mean, you're 45 minutes, maybe an hour tops with traffic to get down there. So it really makes it a very convenient location across the board. In addition, there will also be within the community, a Baptist Medical Center, as well as a fitness center that is coming along or will be coming along. And there will be much, much more too. And that's the thing about Seven Pines is it's so new still that a lot of the commercial hasn't been fully developed yet. But in the next couple of years, you're gonna start to see that part of the community really start to, really jump out at you as they continue to start groundbreaking on a lot of that commercial space. Also, because Seven Pines is a master plan community, they also do come with some really great amenities that include a clubhouse, a resort style pool, lap pool, spray ground. You're gonna have a fitness center. Like I said, that's gonna be outside the community, but you'll have playgrounds, trails, sidewalks to be able to walk. So there's a lot of different amenities that you get while living in Seven Pines. Because again, when you're living in Seven Pines, yes, the house is important, but also the location and being able to be out and about is just as important because of the fact that people who live in Jacksonville tend to like to be outside with nature because we do have such great weather here that's not necessarily as hot as you get in South Florida, but you also don't get the cold that you get up north. So that really makes Jacksonville a location where, not landscaping, but having nice amenities outside to use is super important. So that is a big piece when it comes to why Seven Pines is popular, is because the developer really keyed into all of those things. So overall, you've now learned a little bit about the history of Seven Pines. You've learned about the location. Obviously, you've learned about the builders, what commercials currently there, what's expected, you know, the amenities. Obviously, too, you're seeing on the screen a lot of this stuff as well. But really, when it comes down to Seven Pines and living in Seven Pines, people do just find it very attractive because of the fact that you do get all these things while also being in a brand new community. You know, here in Jacksonville, we don't have a ton of brand new master plan communities in more of the heart of Jacksonville, which is more Duval County, because most of that area has been fully developed or almost fully developed over the years. So this gives you that ability to get that new construction without having to go to St. Johns County and you know, deal with maybe longer drives living down there. Both are great options. They just give you some different pros and cons. Speaking of cons, one thing I do want to highlight with Seven Pines that some people aren't always a huge fan of is the fact that because it's in Duval County, you do have a higher tax rate than you do have in St. Johns. And in addition, you still will be paying what's called a community development district fee to live in Seven Pines. This CDD fee for short is something that you see in a lot of St. Johns County communities, but only a handful of Duval County communities, which again, Duval County again is more that central Jacksonville. So it's something that is important to highlight because you will tend to have the highest taxes in a neighborhood like Seven Pines because you are getting kind of double hit by the high tax rate and the CDD fees to live in there. All that being said though, there are plenty of people who are choosing to live there currently. So at the end of the day, it's all about finding which home is the right fit for you and your family. I can tell you it's a very family-friendly community. There's always, you know, kids around, especially enjoying the amenities. So it is one of those things that whether if you're looking for more of a multi-generational house, they have things like that in Seven Pines. If you're looking for something that's more for maybe you and your significant other, they have that as well, whether it's a townhouse or there's smaller floor plans. So it really does give you the ability to find a home that kind of fits the wants and needs for you and your family, no matter where you're at, you know, stage of life and whatnot. And again, if you have questions about that, you know, as far as, you know, what floor plans may give you the ability to have a multi-generational kind of feel for the house, you just got to call me, text me, email me. That way I can help answer those questions for you. And ultimately, if you have any questions about Seven Pines, I am here to help answer them. Because again, for me, it's all about providing as much knowledge as I can about the area to you as you're getting a feel for where to move to here in Jacksonville, Florida. And ultimately, if you want to see more of what these model homes that they have here, whether it's ICI Homes or David Weekley, as mentioned, you will see at the end of this video, there will be a link to some model home tours here in Seven Pines. So you don't have to wait for anything, you can go right into it. All you do is click that, click that video or that playlist. And if you have any questions, you just got to reach out to me. Like I said, I'm always happy to help answer them. Because again, for me, it's about figuring out where makes the most sense for you and your family as it pertains to living here in Jacksonville, Florida. And with Seven Pines too, you do have some good schools that are located nearby. But I will say the difference with a neighborhood like Seven Pines or a community like Seven Pines compared to other communities in St. Johns County is you do see that there is a little more emphasis by a lot of families to go more of the private school route, whether if it's Providence High School or Providence School, Episcopal, Bishop Kenny, Bowles, just for some people. Those are routes you tend to see, but if you want to know more about that as well, reach out to me and I'll go over the differences with all those private schools and really what may make the most sense for you and your family. So without further ado, I'll see you guys again in our next video.